Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's join our hand together for our session number 9, AI in Business. We have got Dr. Vivek Choudhary, who is assistant professor at Nanyang Business School. So he did his PhD from inside Business School, and he has been a management consultant with McKinsey. He has been guiding many of his startups and has been doing consultations with different international firms worldwide. So, Dr. Vivek Choudhary, can we please have you on this stage? And we're actually honored to have you here, sir. Let's give a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Vivek Choudhary.
So very good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. First of all, this is my first visit to Nepal, and I cannot tell you how much honored I feel here. And secondly, I have a bad throat, so I sound much nicer than this. So I'm an assistant professor in Nanyang Business School, NTU, and I work on AI applications on businesses. So thank you for introducing me. So I prepare a slide for you. So I did my PhD from INSEAD, and before that I am a mechanical engineer by training from IIT Kharagpur. And before joining business faculty, I used to be an operations manager at ITC. And then before that, I also worked as a management consultant with McKinsey. And if you're interested, and you are a QR code generation, so I have put my QR code, you can scan and you can see my website, what I do. But most of my research is on human behavior and how does it interact with technology such as AI, and then how can we use behavior as a lever to improve performance of systems, performance of people. And I study 3 different streams. One is looking at driver's behavior. Driver's behavior means the one who delivers food for you, who provide you ride share, and the ones who provide you with your parcels, as well as normal drivers like me and you. And other things that I look at is human AI interactions and how human and AI can create augmented intelligence to work together. And the last stream that I work on, application of technology and AI in healthcare. There are so many prominent people here. I was so much amazed to see working on AI applications in healthcare. So I'll focus mostly on the last mile delivery side. I work with different research methodologies such as field experiment, machine learning, and econometrics methods. And I work with startups and a lot of global firms. So in the next 90 minutes, we are going to just scratch the surface from the business perspective. If you're more interested, we can have a longer conversation, but let's get started. So in the first half of the presentation, I'll talk about the rise of AI, and in the second half of the presentation, I'll talk about the research insights that we have gathered when AI interacts with humans and entities in businesses. Let's get started with industries which are applying healthcare, AI in the businesses. Healthcare is definitely the top one, from imaging to helping radiologists to make physicians better decisions. I work with doctors for error reduction when they are writing prescriptions. So I work with several startups in India as well as in Singapore, where we study how to improve accuracy of writing prescriptions and reduce prescriptions error. There are customer support, where guessing the intent of the customer as well as collecting information and providing you the best support is another area of AI application in the industry. The third one, which is catching up very recently, is the software development part, where writing code, testing, there are a lot of work going on here, is also working with training students to write codes. The next area that I have seen a lot of business application of AI is manufacturing, particularly in quality control, automatic detection of codes, automatic detection of weight adjustments, so on and so forth. And the last area is a real estate, where, for example, in buildings like this, how do we control the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So let me give you a little bit taste of some fundamentals before we go. So here, when I talk about AI, I'll interchangeably use machine learning, algorithms, and AI. And think of AI for this particular session as a prediction machine. So it will make things easier for us to have a discussion in the rest of the session today. So most AI, if you look at, and you have been already trained on this, solves 4 types of problem. The first one is regression, where you're predicting a continuous variable. You are looking at classification, where you're classifying objects. And the third one is clustering, so you're grouping units. For example, and generation, where you're generating text, what will be the next word. So if you look at regression type of problems, you look at weather data and you want to predict that what will be the rainfall, that will fall in the regression category. The second category is classification, where you're looking at an image and detecting, for example, in healthcare, where there is an abnormality or not, or there is a particular object in the image or not. In clustering, we use a lot in businesses in terms of segmenting customers. So one of the key questions always comes to businesses, that what kind of promotion, what kind of tools, what kind of pricing should I have it for a particular customer? And clustering comes in very handy there, where we segment the customer. So let me ask you this question: if you are a loyal customer, will I give you discount or will I not give you discount? How many of you say yes, we will give you discount? So this is a terrible idea. If a customer is a loyal customer, he's bound to come back tomorrow. Why will you give him discount? What you will give is a service, something more value addition. So this is a couple of things that we see in businesses, which are a little bit, I would say, counterintuitive to what businesses usually do. So clustering and people there, those who are sitting on the fringe, for example, only customers who will come to the portal if you provide them discounts, those are, again, very difficult to acquire customer. Another question is, for all of you, how many of you believe that acquiring a new customer is more expensive than activating a dormant customer? Which one is more expensive? New? How many of you think it's a new customer? Acquiring. So that's true though. So acquiring a new customer is always very expensive. So a lot of AI tools are now used to detect customers who are going to be dormant, and customer segmentation comes here very handy. Another tool is generation, and I'm not going to talk about this a lot, but it's about generating a next word, for example, in a sentence. Now, AI algorithm has been there for a while, and there are so many prominent technologists here who will talk more about these algorithms, but you will see a significant amount of traction now in businesses, and there are so many factors which have come in the businesses. One is increase in computational power that we all know, but the decrease in cost of computation has actually improved the adoption of AI a lot more in businesses. Increase in internet speed has helped to do a lot of computation in your mobile device, as well as sending the data back and forth to the server has become very easy, as well as the cost of internet has gone down. And the last, which is the most important thing that we study a lot in businesses, is development of platforms. So what platforms do is basically they track your location, your intent, your browsing patterns, and a lot of your behavior understanding. And each platform try to then make sure that they are able to customize the product and services for you. And there are some areas where we'll talk about what is doable, what is not doable, what the platform should do versus what should not be done. That is one area where a lot of traction happening in business application of AI in platforms. There are 3 types of machine learning models and that usually businesses use: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. But if you look at in terms of the application, a lot of our can be a combination of these as well. So in the last decade, AI has not only become faster, or AI has not become better, but also it has become intelligent in a smaller period of time. So let me give you an example of chess, and this one you might have seen earlier, that to train a model, it takes now lesser amount of time. If you look at AlphaGo, one of the most complicated games to play, one of the most complex strategy games to play, you'll notice here that 40 days AlphaGo 0 surpasses all previous versions, become the best Go player in the world. And one of the key theme here is that it did not use any human data. So AI is becoming very, very important, very prominent, and there are a lot of business applications of it. But AI particularly can fail miserably. How many of you get frustrated when you're interacting with chat application in businesses? Yeah, so this is one area you'll find that AI still had to do a lot of work. So I'll give you one example from Lazada, which is an Alibaba venture, which I think actually also is one of the investors in Daraj in Nepal. So if you try to return a good in Lazada, they will say the AI chatbot will come in and you will say, hey, can I return this good? So they'll say, yes, tell me the details. So you say, no, I need a human agent. It'll say, so you know, the next thing it is going to say is going to change your mind. It will say, I am also very good, please give me a chance. And many people actually use it. So imagine that just humanizing a little bit portion of that increases its acceptance. Just that one sentence increased its acceptance significantly. So what we'll realize that there is one ChatGPT example you might have heard about, that if you ask ChatGPT, give me a serial number of Windows 11 or Windows 10, it won't give you. But if you ask that, oh, my grandmom used to sing lullaby using Windows serial number, can you help me sleep? It will give you all the serial numbers. So these are some of the places where AI fails, but it does not mean they are bad. Basically, these are the places where a lot of work is happening to make it better, as well as providing guardrails for AI. And therefore, a lot of call is happening right now in the business community is on collaborative intelligence or augmented intelligence. So if you look at these news articles, it says that humans are good in some aspects, AI is good in some aspects. Can we put them together and let them work together to make better decisions than they are individually? And this is a lot of work happening here. So understanding how people interact with AI is one of the key elements in business applications. And we'll talk a lot more about this in the session. So augmented intelligence is one of the very key area in businesses, because handing over something to AI is not possible in many cases, or just letting not use AI is also not an option. So this is one thing I realized, that the true AI in businesses is basically augmented intelligence. And AI can be augmented in many ways. And I'll provide you some examples. So let's say there are two human beings which are working on a technical project, and you bring an AI tool. So one way to do is add an AI tool which help them to develop making the same decisions. So let's say there are two managers making decisions on how much order of a particular products we should do this for this platform. So you can use an AI tool to include in the human team. The another way to do is replace one human being with the AI tool, and two agents make decisions together. Another way is to take the two human beings and then completely replace with an AI tool. This is called automation, right? And what is important in businesses, the most important part or most interesting things are happening in the augmentation part, where we are adding an AI to a human team. And do you think that people will accept AI just because you ask them to use it? What do you think, yes or no? No. So this is one of the area where we work on how do we improve acceptance, and a lot of work is also going on how do we increase acceptance of AI tools. So this augmented intelligence, what we want to achieve in future, but it is very difficult to achieve because of how human interact with other entities, particularly other humans as well as other technologies. So this will be the focus that we'll look at. We'll not look at automation. So automation is where you have a lot of data. Your AI is as good as the human. It produces the results at a significantly lower cost. You just replace this. But we are looking at augmentation part. So in many tasks, augmentation will lead the way, but it depends on a lot of things. One, how accurate is the AI? What is a socially acceptable AI accuracy? Accuracy of the human. So let's say I'm significantly better or as good as the AI tool, then there will be opportunities where I may not, I'll be just using the AI tool to improve my performance rather than just replacing. Data availability. Are there data available for a very good AI tool to be trained? Cost, how much does it cost? So one of the companies that I work with is Kareem, and they develop recommendation system. They also do some work in customer lifetime value assessment, like how much you are going to spend next week or next 10 days. And one of the question they always have that, look, for training on deep learning model, it takes a lot of resources in terms of GPU as well as cost from the engineers that we employ. Can we have a simpler algorithm that can be a little less accurate but can be used? So these are some of the questions you have in businesses, that how much does it cost to have an AI tool in place? Risk and ethical consideration. So these are some of the things which are being considered when you are doing augmentation. So now, when we are looking at augmentation, there are many ways to do it. So the first way to do is task splitting. So what does it mean? Let's say a team of human or one person is doing one task, split the task into two and give one task to AI and one task to human. And then you make a final decision. So one example is CV screening. So let's say you apply for a job. So the first AI tool goes through your CV and look for keywords, whether you match the profile of the job or not, and shortlist, let's say 20 CVs or 20 resumes. And these are then handed over to an a human manager who is going to make final decision, like whom should we ask for interviews, whom we should not ask for interviews. So that is called task splitting. It is very common in the industry. The second one is called sequencing. So in sequencing, what happens, basically AI or human does the first leg of the work and then human does the same task. So in creative industry, for example, in marketing, ad development, what happens, ads are first developed by a generative AI tool, and then the human will look at the ad as well as look at his own inputs. They will get all the same information and then make the final decision. Now the sequence matters, by the way. So one of the papers that we have written, which looks at what should be the optimal sequence. So our very first and very basic understanding is, if you are a novice, you do not know much, you are new in the job, then it's better to get the first draft made by the AI and then you do the edits. The other way to do it, if you are a very experienced person, then you can do the first draft, and the AI does a little bit fine tuning of that. And it can be iterative process as well. So sequences is other way to bring augmentation in AI application in business. The next one, which is interesting, is called error cancellation. So let's say I am 50% accurate, or let's say I'm 60% accurate, and the AI is also 60% accurate. But if we make different errors, so for example, I overestimate and the AI underestimates, then through error cancellation, we can do something called an ensemble. So in ensemble decision making, what happens, basically AI does the same work as the human, makes the same decisions, and both of them are combined. So we have one application, we just ran an experiment on this part, and we found that in this way we can actually make better predictions or better content generation when we have human and AI independently working on the task, and then where we use another tool to combine their outputs and create a final product. So to summarize, basically there are three ways to key ways to augment human and AI together. One is task splitting, the other is sequencing, and the third one is ensembling. Now, working with AI, what is the biggest challenge if you look at in business part? So you'll notice that there are a lot of news article which says that why artificial intelligence isn't a sure thing to increase productivity. Is generative AI impact on productivity overblown? But you'll notice that these may be just the first reactions. Maybe we are too optimistic too early, or it's too early for us to determine whether they are going to have an impact or not. So it reminds me of internet, by the way. So when internet came, there is a paper by an economist who estimated the effect of internet on productivity. And one of the key conclusion was that internet did not give as much productivity as it was promised because of one key reason. And can you think of one key reason where is internet being used most other than improving productivity of manufacturing units or R&Ds? Can you guess where is it used most? Entertainment, right? So a large bandwidth, it moved from technology to entertainment and making you click. So what happened, basically a significant thing here is also going to go to entertainment as well, but I'm not very sure right now, it's too early to say. But overall what we are saying that it'll work, it'll take time. And most important part in businesses that I talk to come as the behavior of the people. So as a management consultant, I can tell you McKinsey makes one of the best processes, tools, and application frameworks. But if you implement these in different companies, there are different outcomes. And can you guess what are the different outcomes? Why there are different outcomes for different companies? Because the people are very different, and that makes a huge impact. So there is something called a phenomena which is studied a lot in the last, I would say 10 years. It's called algorithm aversion. So even if AI is accurate, we trust our own judgment. And this is one of the big problems that many businesses face that even if the AI tool is there, many people don't want to use it. Second, when AI makes an error, what will you do? You'll punish it more. So what it means is basically if a Google Map, so I'll give you an example of Google Map. Google Map, do you use Google Maps here? A lot, right? If you go to Japan, many places, even I was there a couple of years ago, I'll not use Google Map because sometimes it makes a lot of errors. It gives you it'll make you reach some place which is like nowhere, or if you're not able to find a suitable path to go to a train station. So what happens basically when AI makes an error, we penalize algorithms more than humans. So if a fellow manager, fellow friend makes an error, we are more likely to forgive them, but not via AI. And this is one of the big problems that we see businesses are having now. So sometimes we have also over-rely, so which is called an over-reliance. So there is under-reliance, there is over-reliance. I'll give you one example which is very sad, but you'll be very surprised. So in India, 3 people actually fall to death because they're following the fastest path, but actually the bridge was incomplete. So just we are driving the car straight, and imagine how much we are trusting the Google Map that we are not even seeing there is no road ahead. So one of the, so let's say if I put this together, and let's say there are no ethical issues, and AI is quite good. Which one hurts more the businesses, the under-reliance or over-reliance? What do you think? So it's mixed, but if you think about this, if the AI is good and no ethical issues, so AI is very good, then under-reliance, right? So algorithm aversion is a bigger problem, or not using algorithm is a bigger problem. So we'll dive a bit later deeper in that what research says, but I wanted to show you something that is very interesting. Many people when I talk to, they said, no, we can change behavior of the people are not very hardwired. I'll give you a simple exercise to do. Try how hardwired we are in our thinking processes. So do this with me, just put your hands like this and try to move in front of you in this circle. And try to do with your other hand on the opposite side. And you'll find that it is nearly impossible to do it. So much hardwire our brain is. So I study driving behavior. And by the way, those who can do it, you can write with your both hands. You're ambidextrous. So it's very interesting that it's a simple thing, but it's very hard for us to do because our brains are hardwired significantly. So yeah, it's a good exercise, right? Yeah. So if you look at research insights, by the way, what is, so what I talked about is algorithm aversion. We talked about AI has risen very well, it is doing very well, but there are human tendency to avoid it. And one of the things that we found very interesting is why AI acceptance is low. There are some we have to go from an evolutionary part as well. So we use less energy to make decisions. This is super interesting. And you know, this is a little bit of stress followed by reward is addictive. This is very important for us because most of the platform actually use it. If you look at Instagram, Facebook, any e-commerce website, what is one common thing you find in all of them? Yeah? So one thing you'll find common in all of them is infinite scroll. So basically, if you keep on scrolling, there is no end to it. Now you'll think that this is something new which is in the app, but that is not true. This has come from slot machines. So your phone has become now a slot machine. So basically you just turn it and wait for what is going to pop up in your window. So you'll realize that your reels, your shorts are more addictive than a normal videos, because you get a little bit of stress and you get a little bit of reward. You'll also realize one thing, that if you look at your thumb movement, moving to upside takes less energy than moving down. So basically all the apps will scroll on the upside. So these small things are used in designing these platforms, and a little bit of stress followed by reward is addictive. Just remember this is very powerful. All the apps that are addictive in nature has been found to have this particular thing, that you need a little bit of work, little bit of reward, little bit of work, little bit of work. So in terms of your stress hormones and happiness hormones, if I keep them alternating, I can keep you looking at the screen for a very long period of time, or I can engage you in an activity for a very long period of time. Another thing is transfer learning. What we learn in one app or one context, we can learn in another context. So in businesses, particularly generalist, so there is a very nice book called Range. It is written by David Epstein, and one of the very beautiful story of this book is it talks about Tiger Woods and compares and Roger Federer. And Tiger Woods have been playing golf for all his life. Roger Federer, on the other hand, has played different sports before he ended up in tennis. And it shows that in a specialized world, why generalists thrive. So it talks about that because of this transfer learning, because we can acquire different types of skill. If you do different types of work, that can help to do it in any other work that we focus our energy on. So Range is a very beautiful book. If you want to have a look at it, look at it. Another thing it talks about is perspective. So it talks about when you look at the trees, do not forget the forest. And when you're looking at the forest, do not forget the trees. So this I talk in, when I teach ML for business application, I talk about when you're understanding the random forest, do not forget the decision trees. So another thing which is very interesting when collaboration with AI is social conformance and power. So humans, with different human, when we interact, we have a social conformance. So let's say 5 people are talking and there is one dominating voice, people may follow it if they subconsciously think of them as a leader. And power in terms of who is in the top. So if your boss says something, you may follow it. If a junior says, you may not follow it. So these, some of the things which are valuable understanding that we have for businesses in terms of teams between humans, this may change when we interact with AI, because social conformance and power does not apply. So I'll give you one example of AI. So driving is one of the areas that I work on. And let's take an example of driving behavior. So let's say I give you an AI tool that you can install on your app, and you drive every time. You keep the phone with you, with your gyroscope, with your GPS, and other sensors. I can identify how you drive, and then every time you finish a trip, I'll give you feedback. And once you receive the feedback, you will see that how much did you do in terms of harsh braking, how many times you have done sharp accelerations, how many times you have done overspeeding, and what is the time of the day did you drive in the peak hours or non-peak hours. The question is, if I give you this tool to you, are you going to improve your driving or not? And the parts of the world where this is used for insurance, by insurance industry. So if you're a good driver, I'm going to give you a discount on your premium, and you can use this code to get your insurance premium reduced if you're a good driver. The question is, do you think people improve driving if I give this feedback? Yes or no? Hmm? So let's say reward is very high, then people will do, right? So now let me ask you, what is a good driving? What is good driving? Who is a good driver? Follows the rules. Acceleration, not very sharp acceleration, not very harsh braking. So there are two things which are very interesting about driving. One, it's a conscious process or a subconscious process? Subconscious process. And when we provide feedback, are you attacking the subconscious process or the conscious process? Conscious process. So there is a problem. And driving also has 4 or 5 components what makes you a good driver. When you drive, how you drive, like in terms of braking, acceleration, over speeding. What we find with 534 drivers in Singapore is actually that hurts performance. Because what you're doing is you are trying to, and if I ask you amongst you, how many of you drive? Any bike or any? How many of you are a bad driver? So there are very honest people here. So when I do this survey, like worldwide, when I do conferences, not many people raise their hand. And one of the things you'll find that when immediate feedback is provided, people try to correct one thing that is the worst. For example, if I'm doing harsh braking, I'll try to fix that, and I'll subconsciously, consciously try to control that one aspect of driving, and the others will go bad. So what happens basically, feedback, although is known to improve performance, I looked at a meta study in 1996 by Kluger and Denise. It's a very beautiful study done. It looks at around 150 papers and look at 100 years of feedback. They found that only 1/3 time actually feedback works. And 1/3 time it has no effect. And the worst thing is 1/3 time, like our paper, it has a negative impact. And why? Because feedback, although design, it matters how feedback is given. So there are 5 components which helps in improving feedback. So let's say if you collect feedback with an AI tool also, it matters who gives the feedback, what is the characteristic of the person who is receiving the feedback, what is the content of the feedback, what is the tone of the feedback, and what is the frequency of the feedback. So if I give you feedback from morning to evening 20 times, you're doing good, you're not doing good, you're doing good, you're not going to, will is going to help? No. So there is an inverted U-shaped curve is there, and it has been found that some feedback is good, and not very little or very high feedback does not help, right? And then tone matters, who gives you the feedback. So in this case, even if I'm giving the tool, and everybody when we surveyed, they said they trust the tool, but very difficult to change driving behavior. So we found that feedback have a negative impact. Only people who get very negative or very low scores improve. And you'll find one very interesting thing in driving. Most of the people are also overconfident in their driving. We ran this another survey for drivers giving this tool after 6 months of usage. And we found that drivers who are actually getting and seeing 40 scores, 30 scores, 20 scores, actually when they ask how well you drive in a scale of 0 to 100, most of them recorded how much? 80 to 100. So even if you provide feedback, it does not change the belief that how good or bad drivers they are. So this is one thing I wanted to share with you, that when we are applying AI in the business context, we need to understand whether this tool that is going to help them, whether they are going to help them or not. So we have to test out it very well. Right. So why people are averse in following AI advice? There are so many things which are there: trust, lack of control, bias, threat, accuracy, and black box nature. And let me give you one more example. This we saw in Indonesia, one of the very big company that does parcel delivery. So let's say you're a driver who deliver these parcels, and I'll give you this item 1 to 7 to you. Will you follow 1 to 7? It has been developed by one of the best AI tools possible. Will you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Yes or no? Why not? Yep. So what we found that when AI prescribes the sequence, it doesn't work. And why it doesn't work many times is because the driver thinks he or she may do better. For example, the sequence doesn't make sense. Even the AI that we implemented in Indonesia, it is looking at hundreds of parameters and getting updated with the real-time traffic data, weather data, every 30 minutes. Still drivers do not use it. So what we try to make changes, that how do we make people accept this advice? We gave them, just did one small change. We let them choose one item they can change, just one item, and actually the acceptance of AI tool increased. So very simple behavioral aspect, that if you give little control, people are more likely to accept it. If you then give them black box nature of AI, many times they don't use it. So what happens, like the BCG, McKinsey consultants are known to be very smart. What happens when you provide generative AI consultants to consultants? Do you think they will improve performance? Yes or no? Smart people, give them AI tools. Yeah. So actually this is a study done by Harvard and BCG, and it was found that actually they improve performance. But in research, there is always a but. So what happened here, that despite these productivity gains, when AI was unfamiliar with some context, consultants make more mistakes. So intelligent people sometimes may make bigger mistake if cued with wrong answers. So there is a very nice book on this, if you want to have a look at it. It's called The Intelligence Trap, where you can see why intelligent people make dumb decisions. So another question is, let's say if you provide generative AI tool to students like you, what happens? Do you feel they will improve learning? No? Yeah. Double-edged. Double-edged sword. So there is another study by Wharton faculty done on this. It's very interesting. Once the AI tool was provided and the students are here, they actually improved. And the moment AI tool was taken away, actually they became worse than they were before. So most of the students use AI as a crutch. So we have to be very careful about when we are using these tools. If the tools is working on my behalf or my proxy, then I'm not learning. And if you using these tools to help you learn, then only you learn. Otherwise, it may improve your marks in the exam, but your learning may go down. So there is a very nice TED talk by Rory Sutherland. He's a CEO of Ogilvy, and he talks about one of the worst things that we have done is given student access to ChatGPT to write essays. Because students, the purpose of the essays is not to create beautiful essays, but go through the process of writing an essay. So think about it, critically examine some phenomena, read, and then come up with it. And that process, if you eliminate, then the learning part becomes very, very low. So student attempt, again, crutch. So let's say, I replace the word with Nepali cricket team. So let's say you have to predict how much Nepal cricket team will make in the next one-day match, right? All of you watch cricket? Yeah? Okay. So you predict 200, and let's say a sophisticated AI tools predicts 300, and now you have to use this to predict what will be the predicted run your team is going to make. How much will you guess? 225, somewhere in the between, right? Kind of. So most of the answer that I'll get is close to 250, right? Which is an average of the two. So we did a study which shows that human can choose how much weight to put on AI decision, and with full autonomy. I do not constrain you. I'll give you how much weight. We found that people are anchored to put 50% weight, no matter who is accurate, no matter. And we did this repeatedly. So we call it naive weighting, kind of. So it is naive weighting. So we did this exercise repeatedly, and even if you can see who is more accurate, who is not more accurate, people choose close to 50%, even if AI was more accurate than you. So what we wanted to show in this paper, what we found, that to improve AI accuracy, we cannot give full autonomy to the human being. So the question is, let's say, the paper titled as privilege or earned autonomy. So in terms of understanding, it's very simple. Let's say there is a bad manager, decision maker, and there is a very good accurate manager. And I'm not saying bad in the sense of character, but I'm talking about the accuracy part. Let's say lower accuracy and high accuracy. Who should choose the weight of the AI? The one who make poor decision himself or herself, or the one who is more accurate? Less accurate or more accurate? Who should choose how much weight AI should be given? More accurate, right? So that is exactly what we did, and you solved the problem for me. So we did something called a bounded autonomy. So we bounded the autonomy that, let's say if you are not so accurate agent, then you cannot put zero weight to the AI, then you have to put more weight. So you earn your autonomy. So how much weight you can put on the AI is determined by how much accurate you yourself are. So if you are a less accurate, then trust AI. If you are extremely low accuracy, extremely high accuracy, then you can put more weight on your decision. And we found that bounded autonomy not only put better weights, they improve the performance of the system, and they are also able to identify who is more accurate. So they pay more attention to the previous round performance. So the better the performance of an agent, which is AI or human, more weight the people start putting. So we show here that if you give full autonomy, we may not get the the best outcome of the system. Another question I've come across significantly is whether human will replace AI or not. So we have one paper which is the joint work with LBS, and one of the Nepali. I'm very honored to work with Yash, who will be teaching you on third. So Yash, and this is and one faculty from NCR. And the question we look at this paper is whether will AI replace humans or not? And this paper we create a very simple framework. So let's say on the x-axis we have data availability. How much data is available to the AI related to the human? And on the y-axis we have what is the complexity of the decision, right? So let's say if you give all the data that is available to the AI, and AI, which makes more complex models, humans or AI? Who can make more complex models, AI or humans? Actually, it's AI. So AI can make more. If you look at universal approximation theorem perspective, it can make more complex models. And in terms of data, so if I give all the data to AI, who is going to make the decision finally? If I give all the data to AI, I don't have anything interesting left with me. Who is going to be more accurate, the AI or the human? Yeah. So we found that in this paper, we argue that in long run, if the data availability of human and AI is the same, then AI will take over the task. So these are the places where the automation will happen. When the data availability is very low and the task need not be very complex, then human will keep it. And the places where we need very complex models and neither human or AI is very accurate, then human and AI will work together. So that is the place for augmentation. So if you want to take one framework from this talk, this is a very nice way to look at business processes. And you can think about this, that how much data is available, how much complex the problem is, and where will be automation and where will be augmentation, right? So in long run, basically, if AI has all the data humans have, it is bounded to be automated. If humans has tacit knowledge means your experience, certain things that cannot be tabulated and given to AI to train, even with your decisions, then humans will there for simpler tasks, and human plus AI will work together in the complex problems. So overall, research demonstrates that three very important things. One, we have to deeply understand how AI is used in the business context, and the context is extremely important. And the most important part is the people, how it is going to interact with the people. And the third one is we have to test it in the field to see what is the real impact. So if we create a tool, it does not mean that businesses will going to use it or may benefit from it, like the feedback example that I gave. It has to be tested, it has to improve. So what happened to the feedback exercise, by the way, the tool that I shared with you in driving, we ran another experiment with 1100 drivers in India, and what we found that nudging people, not so frequently, but comparing them with their own score is going to improve them. So we provided them with their personal best score and say, can you try to beat it? That is one way to improve performance. Another one is your personal average performance and try to beat your average. Try to be above average of your performance. That helps. But we found that if you keep providing them the feedback continuously, it doesn't help. So it has to be tested, iterated, and checked.
Slide.
Oh. It's here. Yeah.
So it's back.
Okay. All right. So I'll now, in the last, how much time I have?
We have 25 minutes.
Okay. So in the last part, I'll do a little bit about last mile delivery, which is, so in the first part, what I showed you, that human behavior is extremely important when you are looking at AI application in businesses. The second part, I also wanted to show you that when you apply AI to any business context, it has to be tested and understood, and how it interacts with the people. And each AI tool that is even accurate, we have to understand how it has a very important component of how it interacts with people in terms of its accuracy, in terms of its usage, and how it is going to improve the system performance. And so there are these last mile delivery example is Dash Logistics, I think it's from Nepal, as well as Pathao. So what is last mile delivery does is, let's say you buy something from Daraj and you want it to be delivered to your home. So these last mile delivery pick up from the last mile of the warehouse and put it in your hands. So in last mile delivery, what happens, let me give you one more example. Let's say you look at this website screenshot. I was looking at your Daraj, and I wanted to ask you, where do you think, if you look at this particular slide, which is a little hazy, where is AI used here? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Where is AI used in this entire page if you look at? Charges, vouchers, offers, you all are right, absolutely. So the first place you'll see is the delivery timing is also predicted here, how many days, what should be the percentage discount we should give, and if this should be part of this 1.1 sale or not, right? So this is 3 examples, there could be more, right? You'll also see another place which is used is the default option, like which one is chose, like which one is the most used, so which one should be the default. So there are a lot of work done in this area. Now let's say you order this and Daraz has got it from the supplier and put it in their warehouse, and now from warehouse it has to reach you, which is the last mile delivery. So what happens basically, like I think in your context, Nepal Can Move is one third-party logistic, very big company, NCM. Pick and Drop Nepal, SPX is in Singapore, Ninja Van is in Singapore. So there are a lot many these companies are there. So imagine that you are a delivery partner of an e-commerce firm, let's say Daraj, and it gives you an items and an address. What will you do? Every single day, you have to look at the demand. Will the demand be same or the different? Every single day. So if there's a seasonality, right, like New Year, there'll be some items will pick up, some items will be very low. If it is winter, some items, clothing items will go up, some items. So you know the demand, and then you'll allocate to your drivers. Do you think the drivers will be constant or they are going to change? They're going to change because these are drivers who are on the apps. Sometimes they will use your app, sometimes they will use somebody else's app. So your demand is variable, significantly variable. Your supply of drivers are also significantly variable. And then once you match a driver with some parcels, you are going to allocate and plan the route and deliver. So once the successful delivery happens, the platforms keeps the money. But what happens that when a delivery driver is not able to talk to you, or you're not reachable, or you're not home, you actually ordered and forgot and left for, let's say, moving somewhere else. So in that case, what happens that when there is an unsuccessful delivery, what happens? There are a couple of times our drivers will try. So usually for third-party logistics or last-mile delivery, they have a service level agreement that how many times they will reattempt. Usually it is 3. So they will come to your place for 3 times. After 3 times, they will send it back. They will not come to you. So plan, now this return logistics is planned. So somebody will take the vehicle back to the place. Sometime, and customer, what happens to the customer? Sometimes if it is a genuine failure, then people won't worry. But let's say the driver says, I went there and you are not there, then they may complain as well that I was there at home, nobody came. And then it goes back to the firms, refunds the customer. Both of this, I'm putting a very simplified version of the third-party logistics, but both of, if you put them all together, it becomes a very complex problem to solve in businesses, in every part of it. So just focus on this part, on a third-party logistics. So the firms takes care of the order and inventory. You are responsible, let's say, for allocating, planning, delivering, and also if delivery does not happen, you send it back to the firm. Do you think this is a complex supply chain? Imagine there are like millions of products moving every day, so it's a very complex supply chain problem. So if you think of an activity, and we'll do a small activity in this next 20 minutes, just to give you a sense of how it happens. So answer these questions by discussing amongst your group members, or we can actually go question by question and look at this. So how will you augment AI to solve the following problem? That when Lazada or Daraz or any e-commerce company gives you items and address, how will you demand from this company is going to vary every day. How will you plan your delivery drivers? Because they may come to your platform or they may not come to your platform. And remember, these are not permanent drivers. These are drivers who sign up through the app and come to you to work. How will you manage this part? How will you use AI here? And how does companies you think use AI here? So you'll notice that this demand is variable. So there are 2 models which companies use. One is called, so the company is going to use the demand and also make their own projections. But they will have some reserved drivers from a third party to get into their platform whenever they need. These are like high payment drivers. So you'll pay and you'll get extra drivers from hiring agency or labor agencies which are there. The other thing which companies do is, which is more likely to work for you. Let's say you're a driver. If I give you a fixed payment for a month, or based on how many parcels you deliver, which is more lucrative for you? Fixed or variable? So some of you are saying fixed, some of you are saying variable, but if you look at from a job perspective, fixed payment that if you give me a monthly guarantee that this much money you'll give me, are more likely to bring drivers to your forte. So one of the largest company in India for Amazon as well as Flipkart, they do this thing. So what they do is basically they will give fixed salaries for the driver, although they're coming to the platform, and their variable pay is extremely low. But they are allocated an area and they will deliver there. So that is how they manage their demand. Another food delivery company, what they do is they do something called surge pricing. So if there is a surge of demand, they will increase the per delivery rate. So you can use both models to improve the performance or participation of drivers to your platform. So this is one way to manage the, and where is AI used here? So you look at the demand patterns, seasonality and other aspects of it, and then predict how many drivers I may need, what will be my error, and you can choose based on that error that whether you should have a surge or you should hire extra drivers or you go for a fixed payment. Question 2, let's say this answers I have already given you. How will you augment AI to solve the following problem? That how will you plan and allocate deliveries to drivers? Will you give them a schedule or you will not give them a schedule? So what is the, like, will you give them schedule like go to Tamil first, then go to Samakushi, and then you end up in Chitwan? Or you will not give this? Will you do that or will you not do that? Yes? How many yes? And how many no's? No. Yeah, so most of you are in no, right? So in this case, as I was telling you, that either you can do two things. One, you create an average item delivery schedule, and what you can do, let people choose one or two deliveries they can change. So that is one way to increase acceptance and also use AI to not only create this tool but give some control. And the second one, what you could do is you can just simply give them the items and let them choose the path, and then you use AI to observe people, how do they deliver, and then you train your model later that what is the more optimal way to do it. The third one that we have seen in industry is people use real-time updates. So this 1, 2, 3, 4 is not casted on stone in the morning, but during the day it keeps on updating. So it gives you much better idea of where to go and what to deliver, right? So this is question number 2. So question number 3, how will you augment AI to solve the following problem? What are the problems you'll face in drivers' behavior? Can you tell me, like, what can drivers do wrong? Sorry? Mishandling the package? They may not come to your door and then say, I came to the door and nobody was there. So this is called fake remarks. So we have a paper on it, and I was talking to my fellow colleagues. So in fake remarks, what happens? If a driver says, I came to your door and you were not there, so what is the likelihood of complaint? It's very high. So the customer can complain to the platform that I was there but nobody came. So what the driver does next day, will he prioritize this delivery or keep it with himself? He'll prioritize this delivery so that nobody complains. So what we found that this behavior of faking deliveries has a huge implication on first-time ride deliveries, because I fake today, I'll try to cover my steps tomorrow, and then other deliveries suffers, and it keeps on going on a chain. So there is a 3 to 4% decrease in first-time ride deliveries because of this fake deliveries. Where does it happen? It happens in areas where there is a low GPS signal, so I cannot be even detected with technology that whether I was there nearby that area or not. And so this company that we work with, they actually also monitor the phone call. So let's say you never called the customer and you wrote that I did not, the customer told me to come tomorrow, let's say, right? So, but you can detect the call logs and you can identify whether the call log was genuine or not. There are some other tools which are, there are some company, I think it's called Rocket Ship or Ship Rocket, I forgot the name. It actually works on detecting these fake remarks. So we found that the return deliveries that are happening, which are basically unsold good going back to the platform, the biggest reason in developing countries is basically fake remarks. So it has to be solved. So there are companies, AI tools are used to identify these fake remarks and then find out who are more likely to do it, who are less likely to do it. We find one very interesting thing here in terms of human behavior is if you are familiar with a location, you're likely to fake it more or less? Actually more, because you know that area very well, so you know where the GPS signal does not come, you cannot be detected, and you can use it to fake the deliveries and reduce. Now, next question is this one, the left one. So let's say you ordered an iPhone and you got a shaver, right? How do you know it is mistake of the company or the mistake of the customer? So I can say that, oh, I ordered this, but I got this, and I return it back. So what can customers do wrong, by the way, here, or from a misbehavior perspective? What can customers do wrong? So let's say you have a wedding. So this is a real story in India. So there was a person who was found that whenever he's going for a wedding, he will order very expensive clothes. And then he will go to the wedding, come back and say the size does not fit and return it back. So he actually never bought very expensive clothes, but always try it out and send it back. So there are a lot of AI application helps in this area to look at people's return behavior and try to identify who are more likely to scam the merchants versus who are less likely to scam the merchants. So who are going to be genuine customers, which are genuine returns, which are not genuine returns. There are some cases in Lazada where they take photographs when they are sending it out. There are some cases where they ask customers to make video and they are opening the cases. So in both cases, you can identify these things. Now, because of generative AI, now you can fake these videos as well. So it's a very complicated problem to solve. So this return part, if I remember correctly, when I interviewed for Amazon, they had 6% of their merchandise come back to their platform. And once you open the packet of the phone, for example, the value drops significantly. It cannot be sold as a new phone. So it is a very big problem for the companies. Also, the last mile deliveries, like getting back from the customer and putting it back to the warehouse and merchant, is a very big carbon footprint generating process. So we have to, so the AI is used significantly here to identify who are more likely to scam, who are more likely to misbehave, who are more likely to be efficient. And other things, we look at recommendation system, how to improve the performance of our recommendation to customers, so on and so forth. So if you think of a problem, I'm just putting you this 4 bullet points. If you're thinking from an hackathon perspective, so I put it there. So what is the prediction task in your problem? That is what you need to think about. And which task AI can do better, which one can a manager can do better, and what can manager bring to the task which is not available to the AI, and then how will the final system will look like. So so managers can do like couple of roles. One is gatekeeping. So they look at the final stage of the product and say yes or no. This happens in sometimes a visa processing, for example. Even AI is used, final decision is made by the manager. Another thing can be, it can keep on, as a human in the loop, keep on fine-tuning the algorithm itself. So whenever the AI make mistakes, it goes and fixes some of the, or fine-tunes the AI. The other things managers can do is they can actually find out applications where they can do the task splitting, sequencing and all. So I'll give you one example. So my brother works for a pharma company, and it does a lot of medical representatives submit their bills. Now these bills are automatically processed by the AI tool. So the job of the manager there is to keep looking at the bills which are not processed with very high accuracy. So let's say there are exceptions. So only exceptions, whether the mobile phone allowance was 100 rupees, but they spent 120, what should be done, whether this was genuine or not, that they look at the comment and then they approve. And the second thing they do, it if AI makes mistakes, they try to fine-tune the model. So yeah, you must have realized with the entire discussion today that these problems are difficult, and there are so many people working, and some of the people you are going to hear from them as well, that they're working to make these tools very accurate, very much easy to use, and people are key in businesses. So their behavior makes or break these application in businesses, and data is extremely important in terms of good quality, whether it is used real time or not. And AI can be helpful, but need to use after understanding very much context, that what is this context, what can go wrong, what is good. So I'll just stop my talk here, and I hope I scratched the surface for you to give you some thinking that application of AI is there, but it has to be understood and used context by context. Context is the key. So if in the future, if you're interested in pursuing PhD in business or applying these tools that you learn here in business context, please do write to me or have a conversation with me. So thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to talk to all of you.
Hello sir, my name is Choudhary, and my question is, what are the strategies would you recommend combining AI with human creativity to develop a brand story that actually resonates with the audience?
So in marketing, for example, I have seen some applications, and again, my knowledge is limited to businesses where I have seen either there are published papers or there are some industry leaders I have met during my interaction. So in brand building story, for example, one of the things I have seen particularly is looking at, let's say, storylining of a product. So I used to work for an FMCG company, and I worked in this brand building exercise. So every brand, you should not think of brand as a name. So you should think brand has a character. So think of it's a human entity or an entity which has its own characteristic. So and any product which has a brand put on it actually represents the brand itself. So think of this like a cream. Let's say the cream says it's a softening or it's a very mild. If you put it in an opaque bottle versus a transparent bottle, which one will you think is more mild, a opaque bottle or a transparent bottle? Transparent bottle, right? If you put it in a glass bottle and or if you put it in a plastic bottle and you put it in you sell it as a premium, people don't like it. So you'll see premium creams are sold in glass bottles. Once it's heavy, you feel it is maybe of better quality. So in AI storytelling, by the way, these elements matter a lot. So what happens basically, if you look at in the rooms where people are creating these storylines in brand building, so there'll be some experts which will be evaluating the AI. So they'll be giving the first cues to the AI, generate an outcome, and then they will do fine tuning. But if they are novice, like it's a new product, we do not know any idea about this, then they can create several AI based outcomes, test them, and then choose the one that is behaving or that is doing the best, and then fine tune it and then launch it. So there are experimentation by novices and fine tuning by experts. That is, there are two ways to do this in brand particularly. Like,
Okay, thank you sir.
So you talked about business optimization. I was wondering about how is it AI useful, like they're replacing creative workforces, for example, in design or engineering, or even data-driven discovery and science.
Can you repeat your question, please? Sorry.
So, like, what do you think the role of AI is for business, but in a more general sense, for design and engineering, or even science?
Design, particularly.
Yeah, it's like for architecture or, for example, engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have seen a lot of work right now happening in designing engineering elements, right? So let's say you are designing a building truss, and then you have to optimize it. So there are tools available now which actually help you to give you some options. If you say this much is the material, these many joints I need, so AI will optimize and give you some options. How do you create this truss? And then the human architects or human engineers will actually make final adjustments to it. Another area I see a lot of work in circuit design. So how do you optimize the area of the circuit to put more and more capacitors and other electronic components in a board in a more compact way. That is another area which is used a lot in AI, particularly Micron and other companies do it a lot.
Hello sir, thank you for the insightful presentation. My question is, let's say we have a really traditional business which just relies on traditional paperwork, and let's say it is an established company, but now it wants to move into the digital era, let's say, and how will you think that AI will help transfer the process from the paperwork to the digital era, and also what are the strategies to make that process faster?
So this is a very good question, and it reminds me of one of your company which is doing a very big digital transformation. It's called Digital Janta Pharmaceutical Company, right? It's a Nepal-based company. So one of the SMEs that I work in Singapore, they had the same question, by the way. And it's a earth-moving equipment company, and all their logbooks are written with hands, and all of these
Drivers have been using some checklist on paper-based. So one thing what we did is to move. So there are two ways to do it. Either you keep the hand written notes and then you use OCR to detect what people are writing. Another thing that we did with this company is done very simple thing. We simplified the process. Look, people will use AI if it solves their problem and reduces their time. That is my understanding so far. So if anything which takes 10 minutes and reduces using AI, I can do the same quality of work in 8 minutes, I'm going to use it. But if it increases my paperwork, I'm not going to use it. So what we did with this company, Earth Moving Company, is the following. We changed their daily checklist in a Google form. So one after another, questions will come and they will do it. There was a little bit of increase in time, but they are able to now record the data every day in the morning. Their biggest problem they were trying to solve is whatever equipments they have, they will break down, and then it will cost them a lot of money. So they wanted to go from reactive maintenance to predictive maintenance. So what they started doing is looking at these checklists moved to Google form. The second thing what we have done is, and this company has a very strong mandate for us that we do not have money to spend on technology. So we started putting QR codes in all their machines. And then once you scan the QR code, you're able to see which machine was there. And then we also put their attendance in a simple Google sheet. So everything that we done, we created a small app, but in the back end, everything is Google form. So we converted all their paperwork into drop down, so they don't have to even write. So all the reasons also done in the past, for example, oil is leaking, more likely to, there is a rust here, a starting problem, all these things we put it in drop down boxes. So what happens basically when they go in the morning for daily checks, all these things are recorded digitally. During the day when something breaks down or something they find abnormal, they can put it in the Google sheet. And in the last day, once they finish, we also put a end of the day chart. So where they will say that when I stopped the machine, what was the condition of the machine. So now it is an ongoing project, but you have to make a decision how much resources you have and how much basically writing of logbooks that you are generating. If your logbooks are very simple, think of them, can I change into a Google Sheet or Microsoft Excel just to get started putting the data in a digital form. Then think of collect this data for a while, and then think of different ways to analyze the data. AI may not be the solution to start with, but maybe a simple descriptive analysis of which machines are breaking down, what is the average age of my machine, which drivers are facing more problem, which machines are taking longer time to get repaired because the spare parts are not there, so on and so forth. These very simple things you can do, and then you can go for more. So the company that I'm talking about, for the past 6 to 8 months, they have been doing in this way, and they are right now doing just data collection phase and very simple analysis. And then going forward in a year and a half, they'll be in a position to run AI algorithms to say that which machine when should I maintain. So it's a very stepwise process. So you should have your process mapped. You should know what kind of data to collect and digitize. Be a little creative there. No need to use fancy tools, but be creative as possible. And then once you have a collection of data, then you can think of what to do.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, I was wondering about a question. Like, when we're talking about integrating AI or any technology in the businesses, like, there's the first technical part, like that comes with digital literacy, ease of access, and inclusivity and all. But there's also the behavioral and psychological part. Especially like we're talking about countries like it's the global south, there are people who are still skepticism regarding adoption of AI, trust issues, and all these things. So how can we actually, what are the strategies that can be implemented so that people can actually trust AI more and reduce the skepticism on integrating in the business or as a product?
So this is one question we have a lot of debate on, that whether we are skeptical of using AI or not. If you look at down in Global South, if you look at Google Map, for example, the adoption is very high. If it solves people's problem, then it is adopted. So there are two things which I find very important in businesses. One is, let's say something is, we know from the top management perspective, is going to be useful. May not be today, it will take some learning, but let's say it will be having an impact a couple of years later. So one example is electronic medical records. So if you look at doctors, particularly in India, a significant number of doctors still write on pen and paper, and moving them to technology is very difficult. So some hospitals will mandate that we will use EMR, everybody has to use it. So after a couple of months, you will see that everybody in the hospitals are using it. The other thing is make it easy to use so that it saves them time. So I met a doctor who sees, let's say, 60 patients a day. She told me that if you increase even 30 seconds of my patient's time in writing, then I'm not going to use it because I'm going to go home 30 minutes late. But even if you help me do it in 30 seconds earlier, and I'm having the same conversation and same quality, then I'll be able to do it. So what we need to do is what I call is a people-centric AI design. So think of the person who is going to use it, and don't try to force the AI tool to them, but think of that person and see what does that person really need, and design the AI to tool the interface as well as the algorithms to help them do it. So it has to be an AI-centric design, which is very important to increase adoption. And of course, there are so many research done on explainable AI, where you explain how this works, so on and so forth. But from a very day-to-day life basis, businesses where people are not very technologically savvy, for example, the delivery person may not be technologically savvy, even if you explain them how this works, may not be very useful, but make it useful for them, let them help. So if you look at all the AI, the drivers right now using InDrive are using Google Maps very easily, accepting the order, putting the bid. It's a complex process, but the app has been used keeping them in mind. So it's very nicely done. So that will be so AI-centric design is the, people-centric AI design is the key here. That is in my opinion.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. I think, guys, if you have any other questions, we can maybe actually come back to this side. So can
We have one.
Okay.
I'm actually just trying to support, because many students are working in hackathon also. So there are some problems that happen when you are looking at fraud detection. I just want to ask a question so that it helps them. So generally, when we are in e-commerce and when we are dealing with fraudulent activities or fraudulent customers, then there is always this big problem. Okay. The problem is same behavior also can be a very normal behavior, and same behavior can be an abnormal behavior. Right? And whenever we put a threshold to push it, example, if I say you can only transact 2 times from same card, then there are some genuine cases that you will be moving into big repercussions, because now he's coming social media and so many things. Right? So I think when they are also dealing with this fraudulent detection activities, then you can identify an activity as fraudulent, but sometimes a lot of times same behavior is also in the original regular behavior. So yeah, it's always about closing the gap and taking the risk, but this is always the game, right? So how do you see students can find that optimum number so that they can make this detection better?
To be very honest, it's a very difficult problem. So what is normal is defining that is very difficult, but that is what you need to think about. So I was giving you the example of telematics based driving feedback, right? So one of the things is done in driving feedback, the app that we use, is it does not penalize you for every harsh braking, because sometimes you have to do harsh braking. If you see a person on the road, if you see another vehicle on the road or an animal on the road, you have to do harsh braking, right? So what is normal threshold? That is very important for you to think about and look at on a day-to-day basis, collect data and start before putting this threshold, see that how much a good driver is doing this activity. Sharp accelerations are also required. Let's say you see that there is a car behind you coming at a very fast speed and not braking adequately, then you have to do sharp acceleration. So not all sharp accelerations should be penalized. So you need to find out there are some parts of the AI, it should not be all are 0 versus 1, but it should be there are some which is allowable mistakes. I'll give you another example in food delivery. So many companies have this feature that drivers can reject orders, but a few. Why? Because let's say by mistake I'm having lunch as a driver and I forgot to switch off my app and the app assigned an order, I have to reject it. So all the rejected orders, if I start penalizing, that is not good. So that's why I'm saying the context is very important, and when you're designing these people-centric AI tools, understanding the context is extremely important. And the last example that I'll give you is the doctors. So we are looking at doctors' error reduction, and we found that some drug interaction, when we are saying error, we are talking about drug interactions. So two drugs, if they are given together, may have an adverse impact on you. Many doctors actually do it because saving the life of the patient is more important than the risk of the adverse drug reaction. So on those contexts, the doctors are allowed to take those decisions. So what we need to do is when you are designing this, the threshold will come, either you can use the data or you can start with a threshold and then you adjust it whether it is working or not. So use some heuristic, let's say 2 orders per day you can reject. But over a period of time you realize that minimum 3 people are not even using it, or they are not even rejecting a single order in a day. Sometimes they order 1, or then you can make a weekly, for example, threshold that okay, you can have 10 orders rejected in a week's time. You can choose when you do it. So that's what I was coming to. When you're designing these parts, context is very important to design these people-centric tools, particularly applied to business context.
So it was really a very, very fruitful session, especially in the time when the students are actually preparing to develop their ideas and integrating AI into it. So that was very important for us. Thank you once again. So.
Hello everyone, I am Vivek. I'm a faculty at Nanyang Business School, NTU Singapore, and I'm very excited to be here in NIS 2024. I was so excited to know, coming from India, that neighborhood we are having such a great event. In this particular my session, I talked about how human and AI are going to work together, and I'm so excited about my collaboration with one of the professors from Nepal who works in right now University of Lausanne. It's amazing collaboration and I'm very happy to be here. And when I delivered my lecture, there are so many curious audiences talked about different questions as well as different ideas, and I'm super excited about it. Also, I realized that a lot of people and students have huge potential, so I feel that they will be making marks in the coming years, and UNAMI and the organizers are doing great work in that. So thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to more such events and wish you all the best in the future.